This is The Metro on WDET, Detroit Public Radio. I'm Tia Graham. For decades, women have fought for the same opportunities as men in the workspace. And slowly, that needle seems to be moving in the right direction. Data from the Detroit Regional Chambers found a roughly 13% growth in women-owned businesses in the Detroit region between 2018 and 2023. But there is still a lot of work that needs to be done, especially in areas where students don't have the same access to education and mentorships. One group is looking to change that, and that is the BasBlue Foundation, which provides opportunities for young women and non-binary people in the business space. One way they look to do that is through their Future Founders and Future Leaders programs, aiming to put young professionals on the right track, starting in high school. Ellen Gilchrist is the Chief Executive Officer of BasBlue, and Fatoumata Sacko is a young entrepreneur and participant in BasBlue's programming. They both join me today on the Metro. Ellen, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course. And Fatoumata, welcome to the Metro.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Yes, go green.
Go White.
All right. Now, Ellen, I want to start by talking a bit about BasBlue for folks who may not be familiar. The program celebrated its 5-year anniversary earlier this year, back in March, I believe that was. Talk about how the organization has grown and what opportunities it's providing.
Sure. So we have grown so much since we opened. We opened in 2021. So October of 2021, imagine, we're coming out of the pandemic era. And since that point, our membership has more than doubled. We are at over 500 members right now. We have evolved in the programming that we're offering. So we are offering not just a space for women and non-binary individuals to gather, but we are offering programming to help them grow, excel, connect, and build community. We have, since we've opened, not just gone and thought about the people who are currently in the workforce and what that looks like and how you can be an aspiring entrepreneur or any profession really, for that matter. We've gone back to say, okay, what can we do earlier to help people who are still in school, still exploring, the world is still new to them and thinking differently about what those career options are. And we knew that if we could start then, we would be able to address the statistics that you started off with.
Yes. And Ellen, why did you all think it was a good idea to offer it? You just talked about it a little bit, but to young women, especially when we talk about high school and even as early as middle school.
Mm-hmm. So when you find your passion, it pushes you forward. And when we are in school, we are so often put in these boxes. You go to class, you do your studies, you take your exams, you maybe go to college. When you're in college, depending on the school that you're in and the right set of experiences lining up, you may or may not be exposed to a wide plethora of careers. We know that entrepreneurship is a really unique type of career. We also know that it is essential for our communities. When we talk about healthy communities, when we talk about changing your economic status over time, being able to see a problem, solve a problem, and make a living doing that, and then moving on to provide jobs in your community, that's transformational. If you don't have access to that, though, and you can't see it, how can you see yourself in those roles? And so we saw our role as taking our members, taking the community that we have access to, and going to meet people where they are and providing them that exposure. So if we can lift that little curtain and say, look at what you can do. You can still be a lawyer. You can still be a doctor. You can still be an architect. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's another option, though, that you should also think about. And let's help you understand what it means to step into that career. So it's not just some pie in the sky idea. It's something that you can experience. You can have conversations with people who've chosen this pathway, and then you can make an informed decision for yourself.
Yes. I want to bring in Fatoumata as early as possible so we can bring you into this conversation. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. I think we've all established already that you're a Spartan, so I'm not going to ask you about that. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. Are you from Detroit originally?
Yeah, I was born in Detroit,
Nice.
but I am Malian. My parents immigrated from Mali, West Africa. Yeah, at Michigan State, I majored. At Michigan State, I majored in advertising management. And I think going back to like what Ellen said, after I graduated, I thought like I just had to work. I didn't have like the opportunity to like explore other things. But I also had an idea, a business idea. And I think like going to BasBlue and like she said, kind of being like, okay, I can do both. I can pursue a career in marketing, but I can also work on my business and also become an entrepreneur. And I think like this fellowship, it helped me kind of see that. And also I was exposed to a lot of women who do the same thing in Detroit. This is really common. Like people are lawyers and they have like a business. Like it's really common for it to go on. But I think when I was in high school, I didn't have that example for me and I didn't know that was possible. So I didn't even think it was something I could explore. So I can only imagine like the kids or the girls in high school and college, like how this program is really helping them to see like you can do both and you can have the best of both worlds.
Now, you graduated from Michigan State. You are now working full time in your career, and you notice, I want to do something else. I want to venture off a little bit. When did you think that was something that you could actually do before you got to BasBlue?
So I graduated from Michigan State, but I was unemployed for a little bit.
We and all were a little bit afterwards.
Yeah. And during that time, I was just like, okay, well, before I even thought about like working full time, what did I want to do? And for me, I always wanted to create a space. And I really wanted to have a coffee shop. I was like, that's pretty common, like growing up watching Gilmore Girls and stuff. Like, I want to have a coffee shop too. That's cute. And also like have one in my community. I feel like growing up, we never had like a spot like that. Like on That's So Raven, how they was went to her dad's shop. Like we never had that. We would meet up at like McDonald's and stuff. Like we didn't have like a local coffee shop. So that was something I always wanted to do eventually. But it seemed like something I had to do like when I retired, like later, Yeah. Because I'm really grateful for my parents, but they really pushed education and going to college. So I thought I just had to go to college, then graduate and get a full-time job. Like I said, I didn't get that. So it left me with time to like sit and reflect. And also like, okay, well, I guess, can I do that? And I started to run the numbers and I was like, oh, that's expensive. But yeah, and then I think like looking into it, I was like, okay, how can I kind of do it and like test it out? And that's when I was like, okay, I started to like coffee carts, and I was like, okay, what can I do? And growing up Malian, I'm really inspired by tea, and I come from like a really big tea culture. So I was like, okay, I don't really know if I like coffee. I think I was just more so like the space. But then I was like, okay, I can add like my own thing into this. So I wanted to do a tea-based mobile cart. Yeah. So all of our drinks are tea-based. They have some sort of tea to it. Like we have our hibiscus refresher, inspired by Bisop or Dablini, which is like a West African juice. Or like when we do matcha, we do like a sweet potato pie matcha or banana bread matcha. So just things like that. But yeah, I think it was that time sitting down where I was like, okay, I can actually do this. Like I can test it out and see like if it is something I want to do. And I was like, how can I do it? And then that's when I discovered the Future Leaders Club Fellowship, and it just gave me like, I guess, the resources and exposure. But then it was shortly after I started that I got my first full-time job working at Detroit Public Theater.
Congrats.
So yeah. So then that's when I started to kind of see like, okay, can I balance both? And like, how do I balance both?
Yeah. And I want to stay for a moment and talk about your business itself, Katii. Yes. Now, listening to you talk, you have your background, your cultural background, your heritage from Mali. You're Malian. But then you're also from Detroit, which makes you a Detroiter as well. And you just talked about blending both of those cultures. You have the love of tea, but then you also bring in banana pudding, I believe you said, and sweet potato, which is this such it's so Detroit when you think about it. So talk about the beauty of blending both of those cultures together with Katii.
Yeah, so when establishing it, I really wanted it to be culture forward. Like I wanted our flavors to reflect that. Like, like I know I'm servicing Detroit, so I wanted to bring that in. But then also, like I said, I wanted to bring in my Mali side too. So yeah, all of our drinks are like that. And I feel like it was just necessary. I feel like it didn't make sense for me. Like at the time, I wasn't even really a coffee drinker. It didn't make sense for me to just do coffee or like random flavors. This really made sense for me when I started to think about it. So that was something I really wanted to incorporate. When we do our pop-ups, well, we're soft launching the community pop-ups, but we're hoping to like monthly pop-ups. And with that, we always want to like feature a flavored beverage. Last fall, we had the chance of collaborating with a few Detroit businesses, and we did like that's when we launched the sweet potato pie matcha, and everybody loved that. So I think just getting the reaction from people too was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Like I'm on the right path. So yeah,
That's amazing to know that not only did you try something like, which we know matcha is a popular flavor, but some of us aren't the biggest matcha fans. So to hear a sweet potato matcha, that's amazing to even think of, that you decided to try something that you knew would bring in folks from all cultures, number one, but it would definitely bring in Detroiters when they saw that. It's the Metro on WDET, Detroit Public Radio. My guest is BasBlue CEO Ellen Gilchrist and entrepreneur Fatoumata Sacko. We're talking about BasBlue's Future Leaders and Future Founders program. Now, Ellen, focusing in on the Future Founders and Future Leaders program itself, how is it structured?
So there are two separate structures.
Okay.
Our Future Founders program is in partnership with Detroit Public School Community District. We work with the Detroit International Academy there. It's their all-girls school, so we have an alignment there. Yeah. And we work with 10th, 11th, and 12th graders to explore entrepreneurship, what that looks like, who's doing this work, see the various types of entrepreneurs across Southeast Michigan. We support them with internships, a host of things to really create opportunities for exposure. We recognized that high school wasn't enough, and so we expanded this program to include Future Leaders. Future Leaders is targeted towards 18 to 26-year-olds. You can be in school, you can be out of school, whatever your life path is at that time. It's really about your age, because we recognize at that age and stage, that's when you are really finding yourself. You're beginning to explore, you're starting to work in the workforce full time. And we really wanted to target people there and say, okay, what does it mean to be entrepreneurial curious? How can you learn about being an entrepreneur? How can you shadow? How can you get a little taste of that, similar to this matcha, and say, like, is this for me? and then if you decide it is for you, what does it look like to step into that space? So there are a few paths in that program. We have a fall fellowship, and that's really where you're doing a lot of self-reflection. You're learning about your interests, you're mentored, you are developing pitches and proposals, you're learning how to network. From there, you go into the spring cohort, and there's two paths there. There's a path that was looking at being a venture. So how do you start a business? And that's what Fatoumata is doing. Yeah. There's also a career pathway, and that's looking at people who want to work in the entrepreneurial space but don't want to be a founder. Like me. I have no desire to be a founder, but I recognize that that type of work is very different than going into a big established company. So we wanted to provide young women and non-binary individuals with that opportunity to explore that particular type of career. So all of those come together. And then on top of that, because those are time-intensive programs, right? They're running for several months at a time. We recognized that we needed to provide some drop-in opportunities. Maybe you just want to get a taste of BasBlue. Maybe there's a particular gap in your life at that moment that's holding you back, and we could provide opportunities there. That looks like speed mentoring. It looks like workshops on resume building, on having presence. And those you don't have to be a BasBlue member to experience. You just need to fall in that age range.
I have so many follow-up questions.
Okay.
One of them is just about, of course, the high schoolers and that particular tract. A lot of times, like you're saying, a lot of young women, in particular, and non-binary individuals, may not know that there are opportunities outside of their current scope or their viewpoint. Could you talk about the importance of giving them this space to try something out, air quotes there, but just to try it out, just to see if this is something that you actually want to do versus I'm going to commit to 4 years of school, do this and do that, and then, maybe this is not something that I actually want to do.
So I think the first piece to recognize is that failure is a privilege, right? And so to be able to have the space to fail means that you have something to catch you and you have resources to fall back on. And for some people, that is not true. And we see ourselves as somebody who can step in and create that safety net. In high school, when we can provide that opportunity, when we can provide you with resources so that you have mentors, you have trusted adults that you can ask questions, you have safe spaces to go and to learn, you have people who can guide you, you can maybe say this isn't for me, but the repercussions of that are far less intense. you also learn how to say this isn't for me. Right? How many of us just go down this path and we keep going because we feel like we have to? And so we're teaching those soft skills in that program that regardless of whatever career path you take will transfer. That I believe is fundamental, and it's hard to sometimes get, especially when you're looking at not having necessarily the privilege of lots of choices in front of you. And so what we're combining is this opportunity and choice. We give our girls choices in their internships, choices in what colleges they visit, choices in their mentors, so that they understand how to make choices. And what do you do when you have a difficult one in front of you? Sometimes there's a right and wrong one, sometimes there's no wrong one, and you have to learn how to make your way through that. We also know that being that trusted adult, building those relationships with the girls is really important. One of the biggest joys this summer, the girls are, and we have 19 girls interning across southeastern Michigan with female entrepreneurs. And seeing them come in to BasBlue in our cafe with their mentors and with their employers, and they're popping in, right? They're not in school. This has just become a place where they feel safe and they feel comfortable, and watching them transform to being able to do that independently, right? They're not on the bus that's showing up for a structured program. They're learning how to navigate the world around them. And we're just honored to be a part of that.
That's amazing to think about, especially at the beginning of the summer where you see where these young women are, young non-binary individuals, where they are in the beginning of summer through the end of summer when they're getting ready to head back into school, and you see these new people just flourish around you. I can only imagine what it's like to see those young people come alive. Actually, I can, because we have interns here and I've watched them grow. So it's amazing to see. But Fatoumata, for a brief moment, talk about your experience with the Future Founders and Future Leaders program. I know that you went down the venture lane for the spring cohort. So talk a little bit about what you wanted to do or what you want to do with your business.
Yeah, I also did the fall portion of the fellowship as well. So that was for more like what they call entrepreneur curious. Yeah. Even though I had the idea, I never studied business like formally. My mother, she was a business owner when I was younger. However, I didn't really see the build of that. I just saw it there. So when I had the idea, I was kind of just like, okay, what's next? Like, I don't really know, like, do I get an LLC? Once I get one, what do I do with it? Yeah. So I had a lot of questions. So I feel like the entrepreneur curious portion was really like necessary, but also like to reflect for myself, like what kind of leader do I want to be? And also like she talked about those soft skills that I need to be an entrepreneur. So I was exposed to that. But then following up with that in spring, once they launched the venture builders portion, I was like, okay, I'm a little bit ready. Like I'm ready to kind of test. Well, I have been testing it out, but I'm ready to like go to the next step. And with that, we had like workshops and sessions with like different women in Detroit. So we definitely were exposed to like that ecosystem that I didn't even know existed. Yeah. And we had like one session I think was like accounting. We had a strategic financial strategy workshop. We had like I think it was legal contracts and things, just a bunch of stuff where I'm like, oh, we have to consider this. So I feel like the fellowship did a great job of like kind of bridging the knowledge gap for me, like when it came to like, okay, I have this idea, but like what do I need to do to get to like the other side of like launching the idea? So it's a really great experience. Not only that, I think Kelly, the program director, she does an amazing job of like affirming us too, and like being a resource for us to be like, okay, you have a question, I can connect you with somebody. I can figure that out for you. If you don't know, I can like help you. And then also the other fellows, they were amazing to work with. We got to develop a pitch that we pitched at the end of the fellowship, and just working with them and kind of just being like, okay, I'm confused, but you're confused too. Okay, so this is normal. Like I'm not tripping, you know? So it was really nice, I think, to and we all were like in different industries. So it was really nice to kind of see what they were working on and like how that was going for them as well. So.
And Ellen, just listening to Fatoumata talk about that program and the things that she was able to learn, is this the first time? Are you a part of the first cohort for it? She is. Mm-hmm. So, yes. Ellen, what are you all at BasBlue looking to gain from this first cohort, this first time around with the, I believe it's 18 to 26-year-olds?
I think, Fatoumata's story is exactly what we were looking to gain. We want to see people leave this program feeling more confident, feeling like they have a network, feeling like they understand how to move forward and whatever path forward looks like for them. we want people to feel like they're part of the BasBlue community. When you feel like you have a place where you belong and you feel like you have people who are rooting for you, who are cheering for you, who are actively working for your good and your success, there's nothing more fulfilling. And so when we can do that and we can see people's businesses succeed, we can see them develop stronger relationships, we can see their confidence improve. We know that these individuals, regardless if their first business is successful or not, will go on to do great things.
And we're going to come back to that because that's something that I definitely want to talk to you about. It's just that future success that you're looking for in terms of your participation, participants itself, and what it looks like for the community that BasBlue is growing right now. You're listening to the Metro. Right now, we're talking about BasBlue's Future Leaders and Future Founders programs. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with Ellen Gilchrist and Fatoumata Sacko. You all stay right there. This is the Metro. Welcome back to the Metro on WDET, Detroit Public Radio. My guests are BasBlue Chief Executive Officer Ellen Gilchrist and entrepreneur Fatoumata Sacko. We're talking about BasBlue and its Future Leaders and Future Founders programs, which aim to set women and non-binary individuals up for success in the business space. Now, Ellen.
Yes.
We've talked a little bit about Fatoumata's beverage cart. What are some of the other interesting ideas that entrepreneurs in the program have come up with so far, especially because this is your first time with the 18 to 26-year-olds?
I think my favorite part is seeing what people come up with. Yeah. Because you never know what people are thinking and how their experiences influence and inspire them. I'll give a few examples. Just yesterday, I spent some time with one of our program participants, Tia, and Tia's program is focused on, great name, is focused on movement and stretching, assisted stretching. How do you use movement as healing? How do you incorporate it into your life in an everyday way so that you are not just waiting for that time to go and exercise? Yeah. It's so simple, but really revolutionary when you think about how do you build a business around that and at such a young age. She's not waiting until she's 50 and how do I figure this out? She's trying to help people solve that problem right now. I think of one of our participants, Kiara, and who I know you know, yes, who recognized a shortage in the film space in the Detroit area and wanted to fill that gap and say, how do we bring people together, build community around film? And so she's been doing these pop-up movie series around the city. She had one down at Campus Marcia. She's done a few others. I think all of what we're seeing are people are finding a gap, they're finding a problem, and they're saying, I have a way to solve this. And that passion, I think, is what drives people. And we've seen that through so many of our participants. Another one that I will flag is building a business around motorsports. Wouldn't have thought of that, but she is a motorsports enthusiast, saw a gap in the motorsports world. There was a lack of female representation in that space and is really ideating on how does she come up with a business plan that can fill the gap. And so part of what we see in her process is you can identify a problem. You can know you have a solution, and you don't have to know what the solution is right away. You can make your way through this in an iterative way to find the solution. But as long as you're crystal clear on your passion and your purpose, you will get there. And so that, I think, has been a real treat.
Just hearing you say, as long as you know your passion and you know what it is you want to do, you will find that solution. You just got to stay steady and steadfast. Fatoumata, have you seen any ideas from your peers that you really liked or you really connected with or that you're looking forward to working with in the future?
Yes. Everybody she just mentioned, they were in my cohort. So it was amazing to work with them. Like she said, Kiara working on True Cinema and kind of working to create a boutique movie theater centralized to downtown, it was like, I was like, oh my God, because she's so young. And I was like, wow, like that's so cool that you're thinking about that and working on that. And even like Tia with the fitness. And like, I know just last month, me and Kiara collabed for her, I think it was Happy Hour. Yeah, film Happy Hour.
Yes.
And it was really great to kind of see like her talk about it at BasBlue and just in a fellowship, and then kind of like see it like play out and like be able to support her as well. And I feel like that's one thing the program does really well. Like, I think we always think about like networking up, but it's like really great to like network across and be able to like build with them and support each other, but then also look over and be like, okay, she's working on this too, and how can I support that? I think it's really cool, and it's been really nice to watch them all. You guys should definitely check them all out, as well as Gail, Girls on the Gas Pedal, bringing women into motorsports. So it's really cool.
You know, Girls on the Gas Pedal.
Mm-hmm. Even the name.
You know what I mean, and I'm a speed demon at heart, so I want to know so much more about that, and it's something that I actually have noticed. Number one, in the city or in general, motorsports, car, whatever you want to say, automotive, the field itself, it's lacking women. It just is lacking women across the board. So just to hear that, we know that there are young women out there who are they're craving to be a part of the automotive industry in any way, and just to see this happening is absolutely fantastic. And then I thought about you with your tea car, and we have so many coffee shops across the city of Detroit, but you are trying something new with a tea cart.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that need that you saw and why you believe that you're going to make it through in that particular realm?
Yeah, I feel like in West Africa in general, tea is just such a big cultural statement. You know, it's how you connect with people, how you welcome your guests. And I feel like the tea culture, it's inviting, you know, and I feel like providing Detroit with that culture experience, I think would be really amazing. And I feel like Detroit has tea lovers. Like, we don't always want coffee. And like, you know, we don't always want coffee. We don't always want alcohol. So I feel like we're focused on providing that cultural tea experience, but also like in a community way, like community forward, but also like bringing the culture forward as well. Yeah. And so we focus on like alcohol-free social experiences. Right now we're mobile, so we just really want to meet wherever people can gather. So like if you're at, it doesn't always have to be like, you know, a brick and mortar stable location, be able to move around the city, I think is great. And going forward, we really want to collab with Detroit-based businesses for these pop-ups to also bring in that community, the community feeling, just being able to collab with different business owners as well in Detroit.
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself with a brick and mortar? Are you okay with being a travel? You're okay.
In the future, I do. I do want a flagship location. In the future, I would love to have a brick and mortar, but I think I always want to keep that mobile part of the business as well. Yeah.
I can just think about the possibilities of traveling and teaching, honestly, another generation or younger folks about tea and and how tea is just as a connector as some of the food that we love so much. Now, Ellen, even though a lot of people in the Future Founders Program are focused on their business ideas, talk a little bit about that importance of being in the space and learning how to network. We just talked about that a little bit, networking across, not necessarily just up. Talk about that importance.
Being able to engage with people that you maybe don't necessarily know very well and be able to find connections is a game changer professionally. And we also recognize it's a skill, and it's something you need lots of reps at, right, to get better. And so at BasBlue, we see ourselves as always presenting those opportunities. When we're talking about our future leaders and our younger members and how we develop them in that space, one of the pieces we've recognized is because it's a skill, we need to teach it. And so our mentoring programs are just as much about the process and learning how to do it. What questions do you ask? How do you do a follow-up? When you're speed networking or you're working your way through a room and you just have those few minutes, how do you make a lasting impression with somebody? Those are all things that are learned. And we've all had that moment where you've walked away and you've hit your forehead. You're like, why did I say that? So we want to try and eliminate or mitigate as few of those as possible for people. And so we bring in folks to teach you. And then we give you safe spaces to try, where we bring in mentors who know that you're learning this process, who are eager to connect with you so that you can try out the process of making your way around a room and having conversation. We're also eager to get that follow-up and be able to help and support you. I think one of the most powerful parts of BasBlue programming, whether it's Future Leaders or any programming, is at the end when you see the exchange of information. And phones are tapping, handles are being exchanged, but it's showing that community has been built. And what we see is the people who come to us, whether they're members, whether they're fellow participants, they want to be there and they want to be a part of something, which means that there's a level of generosity that you might not always find. And so when we can help people harness that for their good and for the collective good, it's a really special thing.
Fatoumata, I would love for you to build on that, because that's one of the topics that I wanted to talk about with you, is just that feeling of being in a space where you have mentors and you have your peers, but it's a feeling of safe. Mm-hmm. You're in a safe space to explore and express your ideas. What was that like when you were working with BasBlue?
Yeah, so I actually joined BasBlue through their Trailblazers program as well. And my whole reasoning was like, coming back from East Lansing, I kind of wanted to like get back into Detroit, but I didn't know how like to find community that way. So when I came across BasBlue, I was like, okay, this is perfect. Like, I just came back from East Lansing. I'm not really too sure on like what's going on. Like, how do I kind of get my footing? And I think since the first day, like even the way I found out about the Trailblazers program was like funny. Like somebody was just joking about it, like, you should join. And I was like, okay. So it was like everybody's just like sharing resources and willing to help you. And like she said, definitely does feel like a safe space. Especially after the fellowship, like I go there all the time now and just work, and I just run into so many people, and it's just like nice to have that familiar face. And know like somebody's asking like, how are you? And they genuinely mean it. Like they really want to know how you are and how your business is going. Yeah, I think it's just a really wonderful space.
And Ellen, how can people get involved with BasBlue and any of the programming that you have, especially the programmings that we've been talking about today?
Our website is a great place to start. Our applications will open towards the end of the month for the fall cohort of Future Leaders. Our Trailblazer application, so that is our no-cost membership program that opens our doors to whoever might be interested, regardless of their income. That application is rolling, and we do quarterly acceptance of Trailblazers. So that is always there, and that application is on our website. And our programming calendar. So if you are interested in anything that you heard today and you might want to join a mentoring program, you might want to come hear a conversation, that is always available. We have a big upcoming health summit that's focused on women's health. It's August 15th. It's going to be a great day to join us for the ticketed portion, learn about what's happening around women's health, or the community resource fair that will be outside. And both of those are available on our website. So we try to keep that up to date with all of our happenings. The last piece I'd say is just come in. We're open 8 to 4 Monday through Friday in a cafe space. And it's a space where you can come and feel welcome and warm.
Fatoumata, when is your next pop-up? Really quickly.
All right, we don't have an official date yet, but please follow along and stay updated on our Instagram, Katii Café. And if you're a Detroit-based business and you would love to collab with us for one of our community pop-ups, please reach out to us at cafekatii@gmail.com. So
you just heard what she said. That's all the time that we have. I've been talking with BasBlue CEO Ellen Gilchrist and young entrepreneur Fatoumata Sacko. Ellen, Fatoumata, thank you so much for joining me on the Metro today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. That's it for The Metro. The Metro is hosted by Robin Vincent and me, Tia Graham. It's produced by Sam Corey and Alex McLennan. Our engineer is Jose Yanis, and our senior producer is David Lyons. You can find all of the conversations you hear on the show at wdet.org/Metro, or just find the Metro podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. The Metro is a production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. And this is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. You all have a great day.